Hi everyone, it's TJ. I'm doing a video post for discussion board number 1 on the 3 videos that were posted in Canvas. The 3 videos were how stress affects your brain, a self-care revolution, and then drowning in empathy, the cost of vicarious trauma. I have my questions and answers right here, so I will just go ahead and read off what I have and talk to it a little bit, and then I will discuss the 2 self-care activities I've been engaging in this week. So video number 1, how stress affects your brain. What is the video question? What happens in your brain when stress is sensed? Do you feel it in real life situations? So the video says that our brain communicates with our liver in order to produce cortisol, which allows us to go into that fight or flight or freeze response. So some of those symptoms, increased heart rate, restriction of blood vessels, tenser muscles. It allows us to respond in that situation to either protect ourselves or flee or freeze. Question 2, what did you learn about the stress hormone system? I didn't know the name HPA or hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, and when it's function between the brain and the liver. I didn't have any idea that was connected, and how the liver functions in our stress and the production of cortisol. Question 3, what did you learn about stress effects on the brain? So chronic stress can affect the brain in many different ways. I believe the video talked about it impacts the size, structure, and the overall functioning of our brain. It also talked about when there's an increase in neural connections. However, it's only within the amygdala or the brain fear center. And then it also talked about when cortisol levels increase or rise, it affects the electrical system or the electrical signals by deterioration. They basically deteriorate by overfunctioning, and then this impacts our ability to learn, remember things, and then regulate our stress. The hypothalamus also inhibits the HPA, which makes it more difficult to manage stress. One of the other things I learned was that it is an epigenetic effect, which means that it is passed down from generation to generation. So when we have stress or persistent stress, chronic stress, we pass that on to our family members or loved ones through our genetics to our children. It can alter our genetic makeup by shutting off certain aspects of our DNA. So that is video number 1. I will go now to video number 2, a self-care revolution. I kind of combined the first 2 questions. I felt that they were fairly similar, but I will try to speak to each one separately, but there might be some overlap. So video number 2, a self-care revolution. Question 1, is taking care of yourself an indulgence or a necessity? Why do you think so? I believe it to be a necessity because if I can't take care of others if I can't take care of myself. I find it hypocritical for me to be in a helping profession and be promoting self-care and telling others to engage in self-care and have an expectation for them to complete self-care each week, and then not engage in it myself. So that's kind of the necessity and why I think it is. I guess more a necessity would be in order to help regulate our work-life balance, our stress levels, our ability to function. Question 2, why is it our responsibility to take care of ourselves? So if we do not take care of ourselves, we don't have the capacity to help other people. Just like I said in question 1, it really comes down to if I am in a profession of helping others, and if I cannot take care of myself, I really have no place to be taking care of other people. It leads into poor judgment, making bad decisions, acting irresponsibly, to cutting corners, I guess. would be some of the things that could happen. Question 3, why is self-care revolutionary? So what I wrote down was almost directly, or it is directly from the film. It says because it is an active and fundamental shift in power, moving the focus from others to ourselves. So why is it revolutionary? I believe it's because we live in a society that is very selfish, but very, like, we try to please others in order to move up the ladder or to get better things. We're always out, or I am always out trying to get other people's things completed, other jobs, or what have you. So I think it's revolutionary because it's shifting the focus from an outward to an inward, focusing on ourselves to make ourselves better so we can make others better. Question 4, how does the speaker define her self-care? What does she do? The speaker defines the self-care as a sustained and intentional practice in one's life to preserve wellness and maintain a wholeness of being. What she does is eliminate shame and guilt, so getting rid of that negative self-talk. Practicing rituals of self-care, so engaging in those active things, meditation and yoga and breathing exercises, those kinds of things to actively engage in self-care. And then the last thing was choosing optimism. So those were the three things that she spoke about. And that was the end of video number 2. Video number 3, drowning in empathy, the cost of vicarious trauma. Question number 1, what is compassion fatigue? The video defines it here as compassion fatigue is the post-traumatic stress disorder related symptoms that is received vicariously as a secondary target to trauma. So being in the healthcare profession, I interact with a lot of individuals that have experienced trauma, and being in that situation and processing the information with them, I can become a secondary or receive trauma vicariously through that interaction. The example that was given in the video was the swiping of the phone, and then the recall of that trauma every time they swiped to silence their phone. Question 2, who experiences this? Could you experience this in social work? So anybody in the helping profession can experience this. The video gave some examples of doctors, nurses, police officers, first responders, so EMTs, paramedics, firefighters. I guess an EMT is a paramedic. And so those people, obviously, social work, counselors, therapists, things like that. So yes, as a social work professional, I can experience secondary trauma. Question 3, what is the difference between burnout and compassion fatigue? So burnout was really being worn out, tired, not enjoying your job anymore. And then compassion fatigue has to do with being afraid, is what the speaker spoke about. And then the hardwiring, obviously, as in the first video, it can actually change our genetic makeup by turning on and off DNA, or aspects of our DNA. Question 4, what are invisible badges and how they affect our behavior as helping professionals? So the invisible badges, or the examples that were given, were those aspects of our job that make it our job. The examples given were like a social worker staying at the hospital overnight or for a long period of time, and then using it as like, yeah, I stayed at the hospital. It's like, now I'm a social worker. And then the doctor working long hours or, double shifts, and then saying, yeah, I'm a doctor now. Like, I've achieved this status. How it affects our behaviors is when we start turning it into entitlement. acting out because of it, or we see negative behaviors because of it. Again, the examples with the social worker staying with a client for a long period of time was that, like, now they feel entitled. Well, I'm in a bad mood because I was up all night with so-and-so. So those were some of the some of the examples given. Question 5, can compassion fatigue be treated? Obviously, the answer is yes. How do we do it? So we need to identify our compassion fatigue. We need to realize that we have it, that we're experiencing it. Once we do that, we are able to stop participating in the activities or re-engage in self-care. And then that is really how it's treated, is through engaging in self-care activities. Sometimes we might need to take a break from the thing that we're doing that is causing us that fatigue. If it's working with trauma clients, then maybe we don't work with trauma clients for a while until we're able to get back to where we were health-wise, self-care-wise. So those were the 3 videos that we covered today in the discussion board. The 2 self-care activities that I have chosen to participate in over this week were spending some time by myself. So I have had like the last 24 hours by myself outside of my dog. My family is up in McCall. We got a cabin for the weekend, so that is also going to be part of my self-care for tomorrow. So that's really what I'll be doing. Some of the things that I've been doing as part of spending time by myself is just doing some reading. I've listened to some podcasts, things like that. I also just did like a sitting meditation, which was just sitting outside enjoying the silence or the natural sounds of birds, the breeze, my neighbors driving by. So those kinds of things, just in silence, not really engaging in any activities as far as cell phone use. So those are some of the things I've done by myself. And then I will also I have been engaging in mindful walks. I know this is kind of along the same lines as spending time by myself. I did a mindful walk with a group of clients earlier this week. And what that looked like was we took about a 10 to 15 minute walk around our facility. And when we go for these walks, I make sure that no one is bringing their cell phones, there's no smoking, there's no talking, and then we engage our senses. So, sights, sounds, smells, what did we hear? Was there anything that stood out? Then we process it when we get back, and I do that often. So that is one of the things that one of the things that I have engaged in. I'll probably get another couple in this weekend, but that won't be until after this paper's due. So I kind of spoke to what I have been doing, and then I'll touch on it more in my paper. So that is all I have. Please feel free to comment any questions, concerns. So have a good weekend. I hope everybody enjoys their Memorial Day, Labor Day weekend off. All right. I'll see everybody later. Bye.